All right, good morning. Thank you for coming. Today we're going to talk about accessible Word documents. I'm just going to go through a brief PowerPoint and how this is going to work. I'm going to go through a few things, then we'll do a hands-on part. I'll go over a few things. Now, if you just tune me out, or maybe you have to check your Facebook status. When we're done, I'm going to give you this handout that's in color. It's got screenshots of everything that we're going to talk about. You're free to take this. You can take more than one. Share with a friend if you have any. You can share with them or a colleague, okay? So they're right here. Handout, screenshots, everything we're talking about. It's written down, step-by-step instructions. Now, as I'm going through, if I go too fast or I say something you don't understand, stop me. I didn't take that mind reading class, so I can't read your minds, okay? So we're just going to talk about accessibility of Word documents, and a theme is going to emerge as we do this. Accessibility is built into Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. They were designed to be accessible when they started them. The only thing you have to do is learn how to use the tool a little bit differently. And a side effect of that is you're going to become more efficient at using Word, and you're going to create documents quicker and easier. And we'll try to demonstrate all of that as we go through. So hopefully by the end of today, you'll be able to use accessible text and color in the document. You'll be able to create document structure using headings. We're going to do that hands-on part. We'll talk about accessible images, tables, and hyperlinks. And we'll talk about repeated blank characters, which is a problem you'll probably see a lot and why that's a problem. And we'll show you how to check the accessibility of a Word document. Now, the accessible document advantages, I teach OST at Wake Tech, and for the first 10 weeks of class, I don't use the word accessibility at all. I just show my students, hey, here's how you use Word. Here's how you use the styles group. Here's how you use the paragraphs group. That's all we talk about. Then in week 11, I introduce the concept of accessibility, and they say, well, all my documents are pretty much accessible. I said, yeah, because you know how to use Word. So you want to make sure all your documents, want to use those built-in tools, make sure all your documents are accessible to as many people as possible. So I'm like you, I don't have time to do things over and over and over again. I create documents one time, and that's it. If I have to go back and edit them, I'm more than willing to do that. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is just a common sense thing. We're just going to talk about accessible fonts. Now, if you saw the video, you saw my friend Ed, I send him documents all the time. He really doesn't care about the fonts of the documents. He can't see them. He doesn't care. He only cares that that document I send him is readable by his screen reader. That's all he cares about. When we talk about accessible fonts, and when we talk about accessibility, we're really talking about all of us. Okay? I'm not talking about just people with disabilities. I'm talking about all of us. One of the complaints, one of the comments I get all the time is, well, a blind student would never do my whatever program. And I always answer back by saying, well, it's a good thing that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about usability for everybody. So we want to pick fonts that are just easy to read, that aren't word art, that are just easy to read. Now, I could talk to you about serif fonts, sans serif fonts for hours and hours, but you don't have time for that and you'd be bored. But just pick things that look like normal typesetting. That's it. That's one of the first accessibility things you can do. Just pick things that look like normal typesetting. Now we're going to talk about color a little bit. Again, if I send this to Ed, he doesn't care what color I put those fonts in. Doesn't matter to him, right? Or I send it to my friend Amanda. She doesn't care what the color is. You want to have good color contrast. And you just have to use common sense, just something that you can read, and to make sure that it's readable, as they say. Now, anytime I visit a college, I always ask the same question. I go to the DSS person and say, how many people have a declared disability of color blindness? I've been to 30 colleges. It's been 0 at all the 30 I've been. I'm guessing it's going to be 0 at all 58. So a lot of people who need these accessibility features they're not known by DSS. So what we're really talking about is usability for everybody, actually. So again, when it comes to color, I get a lot of pushback on that, and I'm not the color police, right? I don't care if you use color. Use color all you want. This is America. You can use color. But I had a geography instructor, and she wanted to use these purples and blues for this comparison chart. And my only recommendation to her was, let's not use color alone to do that. So we use pluses and minuses over here, and I argued that this is better usability and this is better pedagogy. I think this chart is easier to understand than this one. Okay, so that was my argument. This is just a little easier to understand. Whether they can distinguish colors or not, most people know what pluses and minuses are. So don't use color alone to convey information. Give them another visual cue besides just the color. And again, if you want to use red and green, feel free. I really don't care. Just give them another cue besides just the color. So don't convey information with just color alone. All right, so our first recap was we just talked about font styles. Very simple, easy to read. We talked about using good color contrast. And if you're going to use color to emphasize information, give me another visual cue. Use something else besides just color. Now we're going to get into the hands-on portion in just a second. But we're going to talk about building document structure. But before we do, I'm going to show you headings. I showed you a little bit the other day, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail here. So as I said, my boss sent me this big document. Now, almost all the documents my boss creates are accessible. She doesn't do that to please me, right? She doesn't care. And she honestly doesn't even think about accessibility when she's creating documents. She wants to make the documents quicker and easier for her. So she's thinking about herself. So we're going to look at this from her perspective a little bit. All right, we'll look at this from her perspective for a little bit. So she has this huge document. I'll look at it in draft mode, I guess. I'll do print. Okay, she has this huge document. All right, it's 71 pages. She knew that she was going to have to go back and edit this document. She was going to have to go back and revisit this document. So she wanted an easy way to do that. So she could go to View and Navigation pane, and she created headings, proper headings. So that allows her, any part of this document she needs to go back to later, she can just look at her headings and click on it, and it'll take her to whatever that section is. So she did it for herself, okay? She used the built-in features to create those headings for herself so that she could easily navigate through that document if she needed to edit it, whatever she needed to do with it. Now it happens that this is an accessibility feature, but it's also a usability feature. So it's going to make really working with that document a lot quicker and easier. And now I would like you to open up Word, and we're going to work on some headings together. And I'll show you what's good about these headings and how you might want to use them. So I want you to think about whatever documents you create, whether you teach here or not, no matter what your job is. I want you to think about some of the documents you create, why you create them, and what you're trying to convey a little bit. So I'm going to start a new document here with you. All right, so let's go to our Home tab here. All right, let's type together let's type up here my favorite things. All right, now I want you to highlight my favorite things. And right up here in the styles group, I'm having some technical difficulty. Don't mind me. You can continue. So type my favorite things. And in the styles group right here, click heading 1. All right, so you clicked heading 1, right? What happened? All right, it changed to blue, and it turned it into a heading type. So I'm going to go to home here, and I'm going to do heading 1 now myself. All right, now let's open up the navigation pane, all right? So let's go to View, and let's go to Navigation pane here. And you should see my favorite things over there in the navigation pane. Now, let's right-click on heading 1, right-click on it, and let's go down to the second command down, which says Modify. So we're going to right-click on heading 1. We're going down to the second command that says Modify. So now what we're going to do is, we have this dialog box open. We have a few things we can do. So do this with me, please. Let's make our font a slightly darker blue. So let's click on that, and let's choose this blue-gray right here. Let's do that. Okay, let's go over here to where it says Formatting. Let's choose Arial as our font. And for font size, let's make it 26. All right, now does everybody have Arial 26 in that blue-gray color? Now, if we have a style guide, I want you to look right down here. If I click this one, New Documents based on this template, anybody who ever uses this computer and creates a heading 1, it'll look exactly like we just made it look. So that's as long as this computer is operational. If somebody comes here and they create a heading 1, it'll look exactly like we just told it to look. But of course, I don't work here, so I'm not going to do that. So I just only want to change it in this document. Now think of your heading 1 as sort of the title of your book. You're going to have one heading 1 per document. Okay. Now we're going to do some heading 2s in just a minute, but your heading 1 is sort of the title of your book. You're going to have one title, one heading 1 per document usually. Not usually, all the time. You're going to have one heading 1 per document, right? A book doesn't have 2 titles, it has 1 title. So we're not going to do this. We're going to do it only in this document, and we're going to click OK. And that changes our heading 1. Everybody got that far, right? You changed your heading 1. So now I just want you to type in food, hit the cursor, TV, movies, and music. So I want you to look at the navigation pane over here. Okay, I'm going to highlight food, TV, movies, music. I'll go to home. If I bold these, nothing happens, right? A lot of times we use bold as headings, but they're not proper headings. If you bold it, it will not get created in your navigation pane. So we're going to make these heading 2s. So I bolded them, really nothing happened. I'm going to go up here to the styles group, and I'm going to click heading 2. And now you can see the structures being built. Now if I go down to music, I can click and it'll take me to any part of this. Now, I want to also modify my heading 2s. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with those heading 1s. I'm just going to go up here to heading 2s. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go down to the second command in a drop down menu, which is modify, and I'll modify it. And you know, just to distinguish for myself, and you don't have to do this. This is what's great about America. You can do what you want to do. I'm going to leave the color the same. I'm just going to change the font and make it slightly bigger. Now I want you to change your heading 2s the way you want to. If you want to leave it the same font, do that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it that color. I'm going to make the font size, I'm going to change to 20. And I'm going to change this to Arial as well. That's just me for my heading 2s. And I'm going to click OK. Now, the good thing about using this styles group up here, it doesn't matter. I happen to have 4 heading 2s. Wouldn't matter if I had 400. Once I go up to that styles group and I modify that heading 2, it modifies all of them. Whether it's 4 or 400, it'll change all of them. So I've changed mine, I modified them. And again, if it's my own personal computer, I can say new documents based on this template, and then that way, that'll save time too. So every time I create a heading 2, it'll look exactly the same, a heading 1 or a heading 3. However I decide to do that, they'll always look the same. That may be something you want to do, or it may be something you don't want to do. That's up to you. Again, I don't know what documents you're creating or what you're trying to do, so I can't really tell you when to do that and when not to. But it is an option for you to be able to modify and make them appear exactly like you want them to appear forever. So now what I want you to do is under food, type in 3 of your favorite foods, 3 of your favorite TV shows, 3 of your favorite movies, and 3 of your favorite musical genres or musical groups. Now we're all different, so all of our lists are going to be slightly different. Now I want you to follow along with me here. Let's go up to File right here. Let's click on File, and where it says Inspect Document under Info, do y'all see that? Let's click on this square that says Check for Issues. And then let's go down to that second command in the drop-down menu, which is Check Accessibility. Let's do that real quick. All right, now, I'm sorry to do this to you, but in a minute we're going to have a brief philosophical discussion. I know it's early Friday, but that's just going to happen in a second. So this accessibility checker lets us know if we have any accessibility issues. Okay? However, I'll tell you a brief story. In my neighborhood in Raleigh, they're testing one of Google's self-driving cars. So there's a lady that sits in the back of the car with a laptop, and the car is driving itself, which is weird to see. That's kind of disconcerting to see. So the car goes up to a red light, and the car knows to stop. The light turns green, the software knows to start again. But what that car doesn't know to do is, if the light turns green and there's a little old lady, it doesn't know that, hey, maybe I should still stop, and let that little old lady cross the street. Same thing for this accessibility checker. This accessibility checker is only checking for, is this document properly structured? Can a screen reader user use it? That's all it's checking for. It does not check for font size, color contrast. Now, I told you earlier, and this is a theme, you're going to get tired of hearing this, I'm sorry. If you use Word's built-in features, a side effect of learning Word a little better and using those built-in features is accessibility. That's just a side effect. So you're going to become more efficient, quicker at using Word, and a side effect of that is your documents are going to be accessible. Like my boss could not create an inaccessible document if she wanted to. That's just not the way her mind works. She uses the built-in tools. Side effect of that is accessibility. And I'm going to show you how deeply accessibility is built into Word. So you see this, right? We use the built-in features. I'm going to highlight all of this. I'll go to my Home tab. I'm going to go to Fonts, and I'm actually going to white it out. Now, if I sent you this, a blank sheet of paper, you'd say, obviously, Darren made a mistake, or he was drinking, or whatever. Anyway, you would say something was wrong with that. But is this document still accessible to Ed Summers? Yeah. Why does he care about color contrast or font size? He doesn't care if you can see it. Only can his screen reader read it. So when we talk about accessibility, right, we're talking about everybody. So that green check mark only checks to see, is this screen reader ready? That's all it's checking for. So when I was showing you earlier about fonts and color contrast, we weren't actually talking about people with disabilities. We're talking about accessibility or usability for everybody, actually. Or my friend Amanda in California, she doesn't care about color contrast or font size. So I could make those fonts so tiny that you couldn't actually read them. Ed's screen reader will read that, and that's really all he cares about. Okay, so don't ever become so reliant on that green check mark that that's all you use. You're going to have to look at things and use common sense, right?
So say we didn't do any of what you just showed us to do, and then we checked accessibility. What would it have said?
You're way ahead of me, because
Okay.
I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to create a problem right now by just hitting the Enter key a couple times. All right, so I get this warning that says repeated blank characters. And why you don't want to do this is, again, if I send this to Ed, he can't see it. So if he hears blank, 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 that's the end of the document. He'll close it, go make a cup of coffee, or whatever he's doing. Right? He can't see it, so I don't ever want to do those blank characters like that. So when you run your accessibility checker, this is great. So you'll have a warning or an error here. You click on it, and right down here under additional information, it'll tell you why you should fix that problem, and it'll walk you through step by step how to fix it. I sometimes wish life had an accessibility checker, right? Just have a problem, it tells you why to fix it. Step by step how to fix it. Okay. So I know some of you are thinking, hey, I want to hit the Enter key, or I want to add some white space to my documents. Well, again, you can do that. You just have to use the built-in features. And a lady at Microsoft gave me a good analogy one time. She said, do you have a screwdriver at home? I said, yeah, I got a drill with a screwdriver. I like to work with my hands somewhat. She said, do you use that screwdriver to hammer nails in with? I went, no, of course not. That's not what the tool is for. She said, exactly. Right? So she was telling me that use the tools in Word the way they were developed. Don't hammer things in with your screwdriver, right? So if we use these built-in tools, we're going to be able to do anything we usually do with Word. And the problem is, most of us have never had a Word class. We've done all this by trial and error, right? We just see the screen, we just start typing. And then we'll go up and we'll figure out sort of the formatting and those type of things. So I'm going to get rid of this problem. okay? So anytime I have a problem in the accessibility checker, and you guys know, right, we're not going to cover every possible accessibility thing you could see in Word, right? You do understand that in this 2 hours, that's not going to happen. We'll cover about 95% of it. But now that you know where the accessibility checker is, and you know if there's a problem, you click on it, and under additional information, it'll tell you why you should fix it, and it'll walk you step by step through how to fix it. So I guess in a way we have covered 100% of accessibility problems, haven't we? In a roundabout way. So this tells us what the problem is. Now, one of the quick ways to get rid of this repeated blank characters, when you click on it, it'll highlight where they are. And I'm just going to hit the backspace key, and it'll get rid of it. Now, a lot of you guys are saying, but I want to have white space in my document. Okay, we can do that. We're going to go up to this paragraphs group right here. And remember, if I use these built-in features, I can do almost anything. So let's go up to this paragraphs group and click on this square here till we see this drop-down menu. And you should see the paragraph control box. Do you see indents and spacing? Do you all see that? Everybody's good, right? All right, good. Under line spacing, let's make sure we have multiples, right? Do we have multiple under line spacing? Do you see that? Under line spacing multiple, let's all together pick a ridiculous number, okay? Let's pick, let's go up to 60. You know what? Hey, let's go to 70. It's Friday, right? All right, so let's go to line spacing multiple. Let's pick 70. It's a ridiculous number, right? And let's click OK now. So it still says that this is an accessible document, right? Because again, screen reader is going to know to say my favorite things and then go down to food. So we really wouldn't do that, right? I mean, that's a ridiculous thing. We would never do that. I wanted to show you just how deeply that accessibility is built in. If I use those built-in features of Word, I can even do ridiculous things. It will not affect the accessibility one way or another. So in other words, if I use my screwdriver to screw screws in with instead of hammer nails in with, anything I do is going to be accessible. Let's undo that, right? Because we really wouldn't want to do that. So let's go up here and just undo it. But the point is, if you want to add white space in, you can do that. You'll have to go step by step. You'll go to this paragraphs group between two things you want to add those spaces to. You'll hit that paragraphs group. You'll choose multiple spacing. You'll set that, whatever that number is you want, and you'll click OK, and it'll give you that space. But remember, then you have to go back and set your double space or whatever you're going to do, right? Because if I choose 70, every time I hit the Enter key, it's going to do 70 spaces. So I don't want to do that. I want to use that sort of judiciously and individually. So again, as long as I use these built-in features of Word, that's the fonts group, the paragraphs group, the styles group. I use these ribbons. I use these built-in features. Side effect of that is I create accessible documents, okay? It's just simply the way it works. You really don't have to do anything extra to create an accessible document at all. Well, you got to do one thing, which we're going to do in just a second. You only have to do one extra step to create accessible documents, and it's not very complicated. Other than that, learn the software a little bit better, become more efficient at it. Side effect is accessibility. So, any questions so far? Anything that wasn't clear or didn't make sense? Yes, sir.
I just had a question. The title, subtitle, all these, everything else in the style menu, that's things that we should probably look at in particular, or are they?
No, because The only way to make it show up in the navigation pane is to use headings. So of course I called Microsoft and I said, you know, wouldn't it be great if titles would show up in the navigation pane or subtitles? And the lady gave me the worst answer you can give somebody. I said, why don't they show up in the navigation pane? That makes more sense. It's a little more intuitive if you think about it. And her answer was, that's the way we've always done it. So, which is the worst answer for, you know, everything. So again, when it comes to that navigation pane, the only thing that's going to work in there is headings, not titles and subtitles. I don't even know why they're there. Well, I do know that's the way they've always done it. That's why it's there. But, so now what we're going to do is, let's go to where we had food, right, our heading 2. And under your last food item, whatever that is, hit enter and put your cursor under the last food item that you entered. Right? We all entered different foods and all that. All right. Now keep your accessibility checker open. Now let's go up to insert. And let's go into online pictures. If you're on a Mac, just do clip art. It really doesn't matter the image you're going to put up there. But let's go up to online pictures. If we're on the PC, if we're on a Mac, go to clip art. And just type in one of your favorite foods. Like for me, I'm going to type in tacos. You type in any food you want to. In this Bing search box, just type in a food. Doesn't matter. And then hit enter. All right, so you should get a box of choices of foods that you can, of images that you can put in there. So I'm going to scroll down and just pick a food. I'm going to pick these tacos here. Oh, actually, I'll pick these. They're more traditional. And I'm going to insert this picture. Now, I want you to look at my check accessibility box. So I've chosen the picture the image that I want to insert inside my document. It's right here. I want you to look at the accessibility checker. I'm going to insert it. All right, so I have these beautiful carne asada tacos. I actually chose 2 pictures. Let me get rid of this one. All right, so right here it says I'm missing alt text for picture 2. When it comes to accessibility, the only extra step you have to take is, for images, you have to add what's called an alternative text. Now, let's talk about the way we use images. I don't care whether you are in financial aid, student services, IT, or you actually teach somebody. You're basically, in digital documents, you're using pictures for 3 reasons. They're either decoration, they're an example of something, or they are actual content, right? If I'm in the IT department and I have a picture of how you log in to email, that's content, isn't it? If I'm in financial aid and I have an image of how you apply for financial aid, that's content. So you use pictures for essentially 3 reasons. They're decoration, they're an example of something, or they are actual content. So your alt text is going to change depending on why you use these pictures. And again, if I send this to Ed, right, he didn't lose his sight till he was 17, senior in high school, so he knows what a taco looks like, right? He knows what a beach looks like, a taco looks like. And most blind people, depending on when they lost their sight, can kind of picture things in their mind. I need to let them know that there's a picture there and what the purpose of that picture or image is. I had a student I'm working with now in math, and I said, she's blind, I said, we're going to find the area of a triangle, and she asked me an interesting question. She said, what's a triangle? I thought, oh yeah, you lost your sight when you were young. So I had to go out and buy some manipulatives and let her feel what a triangle was, because again, she'd never seen a triangle. But either way, if I'm using images, I need to let everybody know what that image is, why it's there, the purpose of that image. So I have to add alt text to that, and here's how I do that. I simply get this image and I right click it. And then it's going to bring up a drop-down menu, and at the very end of that drop-down menu is a command that says Format Picture. And let's click on that. All right, so in the Format Picture command box right here, you have layouts and properties. And let's click on that. And I want you to watch something when I'm going to click in alt text. Now, you can ignore the title field. In fact, anything you put in the title field will not be read by a screen reader. Why is the title field there? That's the way they've always done it. But anything you put in there will not be read by a screen reader. So your alt text in Word only goes in that description box. Now, I want you to look right here, right? Look right here, and look right here. Actually, look both places at the same time. Sorry, look both places at the same time. I'm only going to type in the letter Z, and it's going to say, you know, you're good. This is another reason you should ignore that green check mark. Is that good alt text? Does that describe that picture? Does the letter Z describe that image in any way, shape, or form? No. So I'm going to get rid of it. So anytime, as soon as I type a letter in that description box, that green check mark is going to say, hey, this is an accessible document. Remember, I told you during our brief philosophical discussion, we don't ever want to become dependent on that green check mark. Let's use that green check mark as a way of letting us know what is not accessible, not what is accessible. Does that make sense? Use that green check mark to tell you what is not accessible, not what is. The only entity that can ensure accessibility is you, a person. Okay, so let's do some good alt text here. I'm just going to type, because it's an example, I'm just going to type carne asada tacos. Okay, because that's kind of what they are. I'm just going to type carne asada tacos. And then it gives me that green check mark saying, hey, you're good to go here. So if you've been paying attention, all we've really done so far is just figured out what some of these groups do, and we've used some built-in features. That's really all we've done. We did add alt text to an image, but other than that, we haven't done anything you normally don't do in Word. We just did it a little bit differently. We use the tools, and it'll be quicker and easier, actually, right? If you use those headings, and you have to go back and edit a document, say you've got a document in like 6 or 7 sections, maybe it's 10, 12 pages long, and you have something like policies and procedures. You can open that navigation pane and go right there rather than going to find and replace. So using these built-in features actually saves you a little bit of time, and over a week or months, it's going to end up saving you a whole lot of time. So you're going to become more proficient at Word. And another thing that's going to happen, you're going to take that little flyer, you're going to use these built-in features, and after a while, it's going to be like my boss. It's going to be muscle memory. This is just the way you create documents. You're not even consciously going to think about it. You're just going to create them using those built-in features because A, it's quicker, B, it's easier, and C, it's more efficient. So you're going to ingrain it into your mind, and then you're just going to have magically accessible documents. Remember, I told you in my class, I don't mention accessibility that first 10 weeks at all. I do not use that word. If anybody brings it up, I dodge the question. I say, yeah, we'll talk about that later. Because I want to ingrain in my students, or kids, I call them kids even though some are older than me, I want to ingrain in them that if you use Word properly, you use it efficiently, you use those built-in features, the accessibility is just a side effect of that. Okay, so it's not something they view as extra or different. It's just become efficient, use Word properly. The side effect of that is going to be everything you do is going to be accessible. And that's just my approach to covering that. So that's really all we did is we use these built-in features. We use our heading styles. We use our paragraphs group. We talked about white space and when we might want to do that. If you have a syllabus, you might want to add some extra white space there, which is fine. You can do it. You just have to do it properly from here. We talked about adding alt text. That's really all we've done so far. Really no question. Yes, sir.
Are there any other guidelines? I'm sure there's things we can look up online too, but are there other guidelines as far as what to put in alt text or what not to? Like, for example, since it's alt text for a picture, would we just want to avoid saying a picture of? Or?
Yeah, that's a good question, and we're actually going to answer that question a little bit later. You're actually kind of ahead of me. Now remember, I told you, for those pictures, you're using them for three reasons. They're decoration, they're example of something, or their actual content. And our alt text is going to change depending on which one of those categories it falls into. But Steve, right?
Yeah.
Steve's right that the alt text is going to be different for what type of picture it is. Okay? In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and answer that question right now. So back in the day, I do these videos, these sort of demonstration videos, and I get this lady in my office she's got a nice radio voice, so I get her I'll actually shoot the video, I'll send her the script, and I'll get her to read it. And she asked me a couple weeks ago, why do you always get me to read these scripts for you? I said, I don't like the way my recorded voice sounds. She said, how do you think I feel? I said, what? She said, that's the way you sound. And I was like, okay, I guess it is. So we're going to talk about alt text, and we're going to answer Steve's question. We need to see this for all of us, okay? Oops, let me do it this way. And hopefully this will make sense to you. Oh, by the way, we have a series of these, so just go to eLearning WTCC. It's a whole accessibility series. So far they've done with 2010, but the concepts are the same, and I'm going to update these over the next, and you can't hear a thing, can you?
In Microsoft Office, the use of objects such as images can be a great way to create visual representations of your content. Objects can serve many different purposes, from simple decoration to visuals of complex processes. An important consideration when inserting objects into your content is how you'll make them available to someone who is unable to see them. Many people with sight impairment have the ability to visualize an image when provided a text representation of it. A text representation of an image is an image's alternative text. Microsoft Office has provided a place for you to replace an object with alternative text. The image will remain visible, but the text representation will be available to those who need it the most. When it's time to write alternative text, simply think about the context of the object. For example, consider this image of the Earth's layers. Questions to consider are, am I using this image basically as a decoration? Is it just an example of something I mentioned in the content? Do I intend for it to provide more information, supplementing a point I made in the content? My approach to writing the alternative text for this image will differ depending on the context of how I use it. Let's take a closer look at each of these situations. A decorative image, for example, this image of the Earth's layers on this title slide, or this computer image in my lecture, doesn't need much. If the decorative image were removed, the quality of the content won't degrade, so the alternative text could simply be a couple of words to state what is in the image. To write an alternative text, right-click the image and select Format Picture. The Format Picture dialog box appears. From the menu on the left, select Alt Text. We'll write our alternative text in the description field. For this image, I think the alternative text, cross-section of Earth, will suffice. If you're not sure what would be a good option for a decorative image, you could simply say decorative image. When a sight-disabled learner hears this alternative text, it will be clear that there's no important information in the image. Let's take a look at the images on this page. On the previous page, the topic is planetary differentiation, which is a fancy name for layering, and I've talked about how the concept of layers also applies to our sun. These two images are examples of the layering, so each of their alternative texts will represent an overview of what is seen in the images. For the first image, I could type a cross-section of Earth displaying the Earth's 8 layers from the core to the crust. For the second image, I could type a cross-section of the Sun displaying the Sun's layers from the core to the photosphere. Let's take a look at another example. Here I've displayed an image of Benjamin Franklin near a list of a few of his accomplishments. Would this be considered a decorative image or an example image? To answer that, remember to think about the context of the image. In this case, if I removed the image of Mr. Franklin, the content would not suffer. So this is a decorative image. For its alternative text, I would type Benjamin Franklin or decorative image. Let's change the context so that the image is an example of one way Americans commemorate the life of Benjamin Franklin. Because it is now an example, we'll type an overview of what's seen in the image as our alternative text. A marble statue of a seated Benjamin Franklin located outside of the National Memorial. There may be times when you'll need an image to supplement your content. Its purpose will be to accompany a point made in the content and provide more information. Let's return to the image of the Earth's layers. Let's say the topic of this lecture is an in-depth discussion of Earth's layers, and I'm using this image because it shows what each layer looks like. The context of this image is neither a decoration nor an example. In this context, it is some of the content. So it will require a longer description so my students can learn what I intend for them to learn from it. The long description should be a part of the lecture content, so all of the students can benefit from it. So I'll type it near the image. Here's another example of an image requiring a long description because it is content. The image demonstrates the cycle of air that runs through the computer's CPU, so I wrote a long description of the process under the image. Images that you've written a long description for will still need an alternative text. We'll treat the alternative text for this image as we would an example image. For my image of the airflow through the CPU, I'll type cycle of airflow through a CPU. For the image of Earth's layers, I'll type a cross-section of the Earth displaying the Earth's 8 layers from the core to the crust. Deciding to use objects such as images is a great way to help students visualize your content. Alternative text is required for all objects, and long descriptions should be provided when the context of the image requires it. Taking some time to ensure all of your objects are available to all of your students will help them have a richer educational experience.
Okay, so the thing about that I wanted you to kind of get was that long description. That long description is actually a usability feature. The theory anyway is that you have the picture of something, you have it written down for your quote unquote normal students. I don't have any normal students, but maybe you do here. That they'll look at the picture, they'll read that long description, look at the picture, and they'll make that connection a little better. And it's the same for, again, so that's a usability feature for everybody that should ultimately help everybody. Again, the person that's using the screen reader is going to have that alt text. It's going to read, the screen reader is going to read that long description, and hopefully it'll help them make that connection. But it's really sort of, those long descriptions are set up for, actually mostly as a usability feature for your quote unquote normal students. It should theoretically help them by picture description. So the theory is it engages both sides of their brain. They're reading and looking at the picture. And if that picture is content, of course, most of the times that we use pictures or images, we're not using them necessarily as content. Sometimes we are. So that alt text is going to change depending on the context. Did that make sense to you? Let's talk about hyperlinks. It's one thing we forgot to talk about. Accessible hyperlinks should answer 3 questions. Where am I going? What am I going to see? And what happens? Now, this is a usability feature that a lot of my, quote unquote, again, normal students really like this because it gives them more context of where they're going. Now, there are exceptions to this rule, right? If you have a bibliography and you're using, I guess, the new MLA, of course you can just have the hyperlink, right? That's understood. Or if I give you my email address by its very nature answers those 3 questions. You know you're going to open an email program, you know it's going to be a new window, and you know you're going to send me an email, right? So you want to answer those 3 questions. Where's the link going? What's going to be viewed? And what happens when I click the link? And that's done because, again, if I send this to Ed, he uses the computer just like I do, not just like I do. He actually uses the computer better than I do, but he does it differently than I do. Of course, he doesn't use a mouse because he can't see the pointer. He only uses the keyboard. So the reason I'm going to let him know that it opens in a new window, or I'll put new window, just to let him know, right? Because he can't see that new window. So he'll be able to navigate using his tab key or shift tab to reverse. He'll be able to navigate through those windows. So it's just that's mostly a courtesy thing, right? So a person that's blind who uses a computer, most of them use it probably better than we do, sighted people, but it's different. Their experience with it is different. Okay, not better or worse, it's just kind of different. So I need to let them know that it opens in a new window. So I'm going to show you what happens right here. You don't have to follow me along on this. I'll show you what happens when you, all right, I want you to look right over here. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. All right, so I'm going to put right here to see some taco recipes. Go to Food Network. And then I'll just say new window. All right, so I want to make this my clickable link. First, let me go to Food Network. I don't even know what the address is for Food Network, but let's see. Oh, yeah. You know what? That's probably it, isn't it? That is probably it. So I understand why some of you are looking at me like I'm an idiot now. I would guess it would be foodnetwork.com. That makes a strange kind of sense. So I'm gonna highlight, I'm gonna copy the Food Network address. So I'm gonna highlight this, all right? I'm gonna right click on it. I'm gonna go down here to hyperlink, and I'm just gonna paste in that address. All right, now I want you to see something. I almost always do direct link, and I'm gonna copy that too. I just wanna make it non-clickable. Now, watch what happens if I just hit the enter key. It says, warning, unclear hyperlink text. Of course it's unclear because that's a clickable link. I've not answered those 3 questions. So I'm only going to do the reverse of what I just did. I'm going to highlight this link. I'll right-click on it, and I'll remove the hyperlink. And then I'm good to go. But that top one gives you more context. It lets you know, or lets the student know, where they're going, what they're going to see, and what happens. Okay, that's the way you make an accessible hyperlink instead of just http://www.foodnetwork.com/. It's really annoying to listen to with the screen reader. It'd probably be a good idea if some of you would just, in your spare time, just use a screen reader for a day or so, or just an hour. All right, turn off your monitor. There's a good free screen reader called NVDA. That means non-visual desktop access. It's free. It's almost as good as JAWS, and it's totally free. Try it for about an hour, just to get a little bit of the experience of a disabled user. Just give it a little try. So I want to make sure that I answer those 3 questions on my hyperlink. Where am I going? What am I going to see? What happens? I leave the direct link down here just as a courtesy. So if somebody wants to copy and paste, or they want to share with someone, they can. I just make sure that that's non-clickable. Okay, that's really all I do there. All right, now let's talk about what we've just talked about. We talked about accessible fonts. We talked about style and color. We talked a lot about color contrast. We looked at that accessibility checker. We said, again, that color contrast doesn't matter as far as the accessibility checker is concerned. Why would it, honestly? Right. We don't want to convey information with just color alone. We used headings. Actually, we didn't do lists, but we'll do that. That's pretty simple. We talked about composing those clear hyperlinks by answering those 3 questions. Where am I going? What am I going to see? And what happens? And we talked about making images available through alt text. Any questions so far on anything we've done? Bueller? No, yes.
I understand setting up that link, telling the user where they're going, what's going to happen. Is it possible to make that alt text on a link instead of typing it out, where everyone sees it that way? Is it possible just to make it alt text on the hyperlink for the screen reader?
No, because it's not an image. It just doesn't, no. It's actually a good question. He asked a good question.
Because I'm asking just from a visual standpoint for someone who doesn't need it read to them, they're just looking at it, and we might be used to seeing a typical clickable hyperlink that's just regular text without that extra.
He asked a good question. He said, why couldn't you just use the regular HTTP, the regular hyperlink, and just have alt text there? The only thing, which is a good question, and that would make life simpler, right? But the only thing you can add alt text to are images. So you really can't do that. But most of the time, people understand that if something's underlined, there's kind of they understand what a hyperlink is for the most part. So you're going to have to sort of think maybe a little bit differently, use these built-in features, do some things a little bit differently. But as I said, they're going to become muscle memory for you soon. So right now, yes, ma'am.
So I have a question. So does the reader read to the non-seeing person that the word is underlined? So they probably know.
It'll say link.
It'll say link.
Yeah, it recognizes that it's, yeah. So, yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I teach a state and local government class, and in the discussion board, I use a lot of articles from News and Observer, Charlotte Observer that they have to read and then discuss. And so if I say, here's an article from, or click on this article from the Charlotte Observer, read it, tell me what you think, and I just highlight that, is that, link that article from the Charlotte Observer, is that enough, or do I need to put in the title, or Is that, if I can't see and a screen reader's having to read that to me, is that gonna be enough information so that they know they're going from the discussion board on to, they're pulling up the Sharp server?
Probably not. Okay, let's forget about accessibility for just a second, and let's talk about pedagogy, okay, for just a second. Even if you don't teach anything, let's still talk about pedagogy for just a second. Now, I want my students, I don't ever want them to wonder what I'm trying to teach them. Now, listen carefully here. There's a distinction. Do they always get what I'm trying to teach them? No, of course not. But when it comes to the why or the how, I don't ever want them to wonder about that. I want them to know that, hey, this is what I'm trying to teach you, to do this, this, and this. So that part needs to be simple and usable in that sense. So don't even think about the accessibility for a second. Think about, is this clear what this objective is? With,
we're talking about municipal, the legislature's influence over municipal budgets, and the Charlotte-Mecklenburg County Commissioners have looked at that. Pull up this article, sir. That's, you always introduce it.
Well, yeah, well then see, in that context, then depending, I'd have to see it. You did inadvertently, you didn't know, but you answered those 3 questions. You said you're going to the Charlotte Observer, you're going to read this article.
Yeah.
You just didn't say new window, but you sort of.
My concern is somebody who can't see, are they going to understand that they are going out of the course page onto the Charlotte Observer? I mean, I've said there's a Charlotte Observer article, but do I need to put more? Do I put
I would put that.
The article? Do I need to be more specific is what I'm asking?
Yeah, I would do that, but you know what? I would do that for all the students. You know what I mean? Because wouldn't that benefit everybody? If they knew what the title was, it would get them in there. So it would activate sort of that prior knowledge of them. Okay, this is going to tell me about the influence of the legislature.
Okay.
That's how I do that. Now let's take a break. So the next thing we're going to do is we'll talk about tables a little bit, but I want to show you something. I've redacted this, so maybe you won't be able to figure it out. I hope not. So we had a North Carolina community college get sued for an OCR complaint. I think I've taken everything out that would identify them. Hopefully. Yeah, you can't see that. All right, good. So one thing that's important to remember is that when, again, I told you, I guess Wednesday, I don't really talk about the law that much because I really don't care. To me, it's more about people rather than the law. But it is the law. Now, this was, as you can see, it was January 17, 2016. They gave them a year to sort of fix sort of the problems. It could have been any college, could have been any of us really. But one thing I want you to remember is that a person can sue you who's not a student at the school. And there's a lady in Texas who has about 400 complaints. She just, at home, sits in her office, surfs the internet. She goes to community colleges. If it's not accessible, she files a complaint with the OCR. Now, she has a point in one sense. Her point is the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed 40 years ago. She's like, none of this is new. Y'all knew this was supposed to happen and you've never done it. So now she's retired and she's thinking about, we're going to try it the hard way. So the person can be in Montana, they can be in any state in the union, and they can come to Blue Ridge's website and they can file a complaint. And in fact, this one, I redacted it, but it came from out of state. And it was just a college. Now this college got out of trouble by saying, hey, we have a plan for this, right? If you have a plan and you say, we're working on it, we're doing training, we're working on things, in general, I'm not a lawyer, right? In general, they're more apt to work with you if you have sort of a plan. Now, when you think about accessibility, it's like clearing a forest. You got to, first you start with one tree, right? You can't cut down the whole forest. in the beginning. You got to start with one tree. So do one thing at a time and sort of scaffold. I told you about that swimming competition we have at work, right? They said, Derek, can you swim a mile? I'm like, no, I can swim. So I go to the pool, and every week I try to up that, right? I didn't look at it like I have to go swim a mile, because I can't do that right now. But if you scaffold, so if you start working on your documents, getting those, take one class at a time. Let's get this class as accessible as we can, and then if you'll move on from there. But once you're sued, this college now has zero choice. Instead of having that plan, well, they had a plan, so they let them go, but they're going to come back and check on them. So they had to sort of up their timeline. So just something to think about when we're talking about this accessibility stuff. But remember, if you create these things accessibly, it's ultimately going to help everybody. It's going to make your classes more understandable. It's going to make them more usable for everyone. So kind of think of it that way rather than the law. Again, when I talk to people, I never even really mention the law. Well, sometimes that's like my nuclear weapon. When all negotiation is over with, I do break that out at the very end. So I tell them I'm not the accessibility police, I'm the accessibility priest. I'm here to save you. And I want you to join me. But like most priests, there's always that hint of retribution in the background, right? So I use the law only as a last resort. I just wanted you to see that, to know that this is a real issue. So try to keep it in mind that I'm really trying to help everybody make everything more usable, but there's also another part to this. Okay? Don't want to scare you, but that's just the way it works. Now, let's finish our presentation, and we're going to talk about everybody's favorite, my favorite, and your favorite, which is tables. Now, again, I used that tool analogy in the beginning. I said you don't use your screwdriver to hammer nails in with. Okay? You don't use your screwdriver to hammer nails. Tables are made for a specific reason, and we're going to use tables the way they were intended to be used. So I'm going to, if you don't listen to anything else, please, 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 never ever, when you're inserting a table, never ever draw a table. Always pick a number of columns and rows. Hey, if you want to, even if you just pick 3 columns and 3 rows, but it's really going to be 5 columns and 50 rows, it doesn't matter. You can hit the tab key and you can add row after row after row after row. But always pick a number of columns and rows. Do not draw your tables, and you'll see why in a minute. So we're going to talk about things to avoid with tables. Okay? So these are sample accessible tables. Really, they're just simple data tables. That's really all they are. They have a title, simple data tables, just very, very basic. Don't use a table to create document columns. And don't merge or split cells. I know people do it all the time, but these tables are going to be read left to right, top to bottom. And a lot of times people merge or split cells for aesthetic reasons. And I always ask the same question. If you have to merge and split these cells for these aesthetic reasons, should you be using a table? Is that the best way to convey that information? So that's kind of something to think about there. So most of the discussions I have with people really are about usability and pedagogy. Accessibility is part of that, but really we don't frequently think about why we're teaching this concept. Is this the best way to convey what I'm trying to convey? That's something we spend very little time actually thinking about, which is kind of a tragedy, I think. So we don't want to nest any tables. So we want to avoid merging or splitting. So I'm going to show you some table things, and I'm going to go over one of my pet peeves. So I made this table for you called My Favorite Books. I've got title, author, and genre. And has this happened to anybody? This bothers me, and I'm aware this is a first world problem, okay? But has this happened to anybody? You're looking at a table and you're going, never happened to you, right? Because you don't know the data you're supposed to be looking at, right? Okay, so you're looking at a table, and the table goes to the second page. So you have to go back and look at what the data you're supposed to be reading is. All right, so they send a table like that. I hate that. Because I could make this table a lot bigger. I want title, author, and genre to go to the next page so they don't have to go back and forth. Just for usability reasons, really. It's an accessibility feature, but even if I just have one extra row here that goes to the next page, I want title, author, and genre to go with it. So if this table is 8 pages long, on every page I want title, author, and genre to be there, right? You understand why, right? So people don't have to flip back and forth. So I want to make this my header row. So when I make that my header row, it's going to go to every page that table goes to. Even if I had just a page and a half, so this goes all the way down, there's a page and a half. That half page, I still want title, author, and genre to go with that table, just so people don't have to click over and over and over again. So to do that, well, first let's run the accessibility checker. I'm going to run the accessibility checker on this table. Now, remember I told you don't become so dependent on that green check mark that's all you use. So I'm going to check accessibility. I'm going to have 2 problems, I'm pretty sure. And I do. I'm missing alt text for this table. Now, I said we're going to talk about table, a quick accessibility test we can do for tables. So tables are very simple. We're going to do a tab test. They're going to read from left to right, top to bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to tab. Just going to tab through. So, all right, this is just a quick accessibility check I can do. I don't even have to go through all of it. All right. So, say I don't like the way this table is. I can go to design of this table here under table tools, and I can make this table look different ways. That's fine. I can do whatever I need to do as far as just the layout, how the table looks. I'll just stick with that one. So I want title, author, genre to go. I want this to go every time that table there's a page break. I want that header row to go with it so people don't have to flip back and forth. They can see the data that I'm trying to convey. So I'm going to just highlight title, author, and genre. And then I'm having this little cross here. I'm going to right click on it, and I'm going to go down to table properties. And under row, I'm going to click repeat as header row at the top of each page. And then I'll click OK. And so however long this table is, that header row will go with each page. Now, remember I told you that if you had a problem here in the accessibility checker, no matter what it is, when you click on the problem, under additional information, it'll tell you why you should fix it, and it'll even tell you how to fix it. So it says we're missing alt text for the table. You saw the alt text video. We did our tab test. We know that this table is going to be accessible because we picked a number of columns and rows. We did not draw the table. We just used the built-in tool. So we're going to treat this table like we would an example. I know that if I send it to Ed, his screen reader is going to read this table properly. I have no doubt of that. So for my alt text, I'm just going to say, I'm going to right click again. I'm going to go to table properties. And I'm going to go to alt text here. And I'm just going to say my favorite books because that's what it is. And I'm going to click OK. Now it says, hey, no accessibility issues found. But this table does not have a title yet. which I think would be beneficial for everybody. Now, when you create tables in a document, you're going to have like table 1, table 2, table 3. You may or may not want to keep table 1, table 2, table 3. It depends. I don't know what you're trying to convey. I can't answer that question for you, really. But I'm going to pick this whole table, and I'm going to go down to insert captions. For some reason, Word calls table titles captions. And for table 1, I'm just going to say my favorite books. And I'm going to click OK. Then I'll get rid of table 1 for my purposes. I'll get rid of table 1. And I'll change the font of this to my favorite Arial. And I'll make this slightly bigger. Arial, and I'll change it to like 22. All right, and I'll take that italics off. Now, I'm missing one area you'll see sometimes is you'll see blank table cells. Now, if I send this to Ed, what he's going to hear is, he's going to hear the memory of running, Ron McClarty, Cryptonomicron. It won't make sense. You can see that I've left this one blank for whatever reason. So I want his screen reader, for lack of a better word, to see that as well. So I'm just going to type the word blank in here, and then I'm just going to white it out. So I'll just kind of white out the word blank. And one of my students had a table sort of similar to this, and we were working on it in class. One of my students came and said, "Why is the word blank in there? Why can't I see it?" And my answer was, "You can see it, you don't need to see it." If that makes any sense, but that was my answer. You can see it, you don't need to see it. Ed's screen reader needs to see it. You can tell that I left it blank. So I'm just doing the same thing for the screen reader that you can see with your own eyes. So I want to leave that, put the word blank. I don't want to leave blank cells in there. It should have flagged me for that, but it didn't, which is good because hopefully that reinforces the point I've been trying to make this whole time, that if you rely only on that green check mark, that can slightly lead you astray. Now, when we talk about accessibility, I'm talking about everybody. Right? Our blind students, the first thing I do when I go talk to our blind students, and we had one named Amanda, she's working at Google now, making more in a month than I make in a year, but that's another story. So when I first met with her, she was really good at math, like excellent at math. She wanted to be a software engineer. So the first meeting with her, I said, "You do understand, I'm not going to do anything extra for you. I'm just going to give you the same opportunities that that sighted student has." And I knew she wanted to work at Google, and I told her the only thing harder than getting hired by Google is staying there. So if we make things easier for you, we're actually hurting you in the long run. So we said, I make sure they understand that from the beginning. I'm not giving you anything extra. I'm just going to give you the same opportunities that your sighted peers have. And then you're either going to make it or not. Some of our blind students are successful, some aren't. Some of our regular students are successful and some aren't. That's life. I mean, you're never going to be able to get that sort of differentiation out of the system. So again, we're just trying to give everybody the same opportunity. Now, what they do with it, I have no control over that, right? I can't make you study. If calculus requires 5 hours of study, you got to study at 5 hours. That's just what it is. I mean, I can't do anything about that. So I want to make sure everybody has that same opportunity, that same playing field. And then once the buzzer sounds, they got to go play. I can't do anything about that. And I wouldn't want to. I'm not trying to. So when we talk about accessibility, we're really talking about everybody. We're talking about making it more usable for everybody, making things not easier. Again, when I'm teaching something, my students don't always get what I'm teaching them. But I hope that every time I am teaching them something, they do know what the objective is. Now, whether they get it or not is a separate question. But I want to make sure that objective is clear. This is what I want you to know. And this is just a personal aside. We don't spend enough time thinking about the why. Why am I teaching this concept? And we also don't spend enough time thinking about the how. Right? Is this the best way to get that across? Is there another way I can get it across? We don't actually do that. And I hope with this accessibility training we're doing, I hope it'll make you think about usability and about the why and how of what you're trying to do. Whether you teach or not, if you work here, you're communicating. And I want you to think about the how and why of your communication techniques. Okay. So that's tables. Again, I use that tab test. They're going to read left to right, top to bottom. I can, mess with the design, however I want to, as far as if I choose this table, this whole table I can design. I can make this table look a little bit different, whatever I want to do. So you're not confined to just that. But again, you want to use the tool the way it was developed. We talked about using these built-in features of Word. It's going to be quicker and easier for you. These usability features, if you do that, you add alt text. Anytime you create a Word document, it's going to be accessible. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a question about, I use a few tables inside Moodle in the syllabus book. Does the reader read those?
That's a separate training.
Well, I don't want
Yeah.
another training.
Oh, you hurt my feelings. I'm going to cry now.
I'm just trying to get to, I just really want to understand. And the other question is, you said don't draw tables. Does the reader not read drawing tables?
No.
Oh, it doesn't? Oh, wow.
I don't know why, it's just a glitch. The answer to your first question, it depends on the version of Moodle you're using. Are you guys Moodle Rooms?
Moodle Rooms.
Are you using 2.9, 3.1?
I don't know.
3 point.
Okay, then yes. The reader will read it. Yeah. If you create it accessibly, it'll read it. You really did hurt my feelings, but I'll get over it, okay? I'm gonna cry. No. It's too late now. You hurt my feelings.
I teach students advanced words, so that's why I didn't need a computer. I'm just here because I'm supposed
You
to.
still hurt my feelings. Yes, sir, Steve. Maybe Steve will make me feel better now. Yes, sir.
I'm not sure about that.
Okay. I didn't mean you were going to give me a massage or something. I didn't mean it that way. Go ahead.
I just had kind of following up on Leanne's question. Like, I use Excel a lot, and I'll insert tables into Word. Does that make any difference? Or?
All right. Guys, if you stick around for the PowerPoint training, it's much shorter. You'll actually be out of here in 57 minutes. Because once you've learned the accessibility principles for Word, you've actually learned them for PowerPoint and Excel as well. Now, the same principles are going to apply. So if you add those header rows to your table in Excel and you insert it into Word, that's assuming that you've done the table in Excel accessibly. So basically, once you learn Word, you've learned Excel and PowerPoint. Things are going to be, the terms are going to be different, right? Instead of headings, it's going to be table titles in PowerPoint. You're still going to have the header rows in Excel. So those things are going to be actually, the concepts are going to be exactly the same. So you've learned, whether you know it or not, it'll be obvious when we do PowerPoint. You've already learned almost everything you need to know about PowerPoint. That's why we can do it in about 58 minutes or so, if you do Word first. Word's the longest one, and then I could teach you Excel and PowerPoint in under an hour, because you've already learned the concepts. So to get back to Steve's question, if he creates a table accessibly in Excel, which, believe it or not, he already knows how to do, because he knows how to do it in Word. So it's going to be the exact same principle, and then he copies and pastes it into Word, it's going to be accessible. Same thing with now that I've done this table accessibly, once I save it, say I had alt text in here and I save it, that alt text goes with that document wherever it goes. So if I send it to Steve, or if I send it to Leanne, who hurt my feelings, it's still, I'm just, I was a bouncer. People tried to kill me some nights. I don't get offended, all right? I'm just kind of,
So that led me to another question.
okay.
So,
Oh, here we go. Yes, ma'am.
Steve mentioned Excel, which, Excel really makes charts. So, that being said, if you bring in a chart into something and it's not a table looking chart, but a bar chart, or does the reader read that?
If
If it's done right in Excel.
if you had alt text, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the alt text is going to apply to any kind of shape, picture, chart, or
And you would
image.
say image of
Well, no, in that
pie
case,
chart.
you would describe what.
You would describe what's in the chart.
Yeah.
What it represents.
Stick around for the PowerPoint training.
I'm gonna be here for that.
That sounds like a warning. I'm joking with you.
How does what you've taught today apply to Google Docs?
Okay, so if I basically you do the same thing for Google Docs. All right, let's go ahead and.
I have one more question.
Oh gosh. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I'm joking. Go ahead. You can
These
ask.
are real life things
You can ask as many questions as you
that
want.
we
Lisa.
have to deal with.
Okay.
So for a lot of our students, we have a lot of students that don't have, even though they can get it free, they don't have Word, they don't have Office Suite. And some of them use some other things, and we have quite a few Mac students. So we have been going through the practice of late converting everything to a PDF or flat file so everybody can see it.
Mm-hmm.
Does the reader read flat file things?
I'm going to answer that question right now. All right, so now there's two ways, and get back to the Google question. These concepts of alt text, header rows for tables, headings apply to almost any document you create. Okay, so really think about accessibility as structure. If you think about it that way, it's structure in a document. If you do that, most of the time, 99.7% of the time, it's going to be readable by a screen reader. What you're really doing is creating a structure, a usability structure. Now, we're going to talk about PDFs. Now, there's two ways to do PDFs. You can use Acrobat Pro to create an accessible PDF once it's a PDF, or you can do it my way, which is the easy way. If I've trained people to create PDFs, it usually takes about 4 hours of excruciating detail. But let's do it the easy way. Now, I told you, you've got this handout. Everything we've talked about, it goes over step by step. It's got screenshots and arrows here. Shows you exactly how to do it. The one for PDF, I don't have. I left it in my office. But I'm going to email it to Judith. I'm going to give her electronic copies of our Word and PowerPoint. I told her she can distribute it far and wide, do whatever she wants to with it. Once it gets on your website, do whatever you want to with it. All right. I want you to spread the gospel as far as you can, okay? So let's do PDFs. It's really about a 5-step process. The first thing I have to do is create an accessible Word document, which we have a green check mark. Let's use our common sense. Do we all agree that this is an accessible document? All right, we use the built-in features. Okay, good. So I'm going to do something counterintuitive here, but I'll explain later. The first thing I'm going to do is to create a PDF. And when I do this, I'm going to create an accessible PDF 99.9% of the time when I do this. Now, I have to warn you. If you run the PDF, the accessibility checker in Acrobat Pro, it's going to say a language was not chosen, but I don't care. I know if I send this to Ed, his screen reader will read it. That's really all I care about. So first thing I'm going to do, I have this document that is accessible. I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Save As. I'll put it on the desktop. I'm going to save it as a 97/2003 document. Yep, I'll click OK. And you're going to notice it says, oops, let me do it again. I'm going to go to File, Save As. Save it on the desktop. I'm going to save it as a 97/2003 document. Okay, I'll replace the existing file. I'll continue. Now, it's going to say unable to run the accessibility checker, which is true. It cannot run the accessibility checker because it didn't exist in 97 and 2003. Now, the reason I'm saving this under that old format, now again, I'm making a couple assumptions here. First assumption is that you created an accessible Word document. You checked and double checked. You got the green check mark. You also used common sense and looked at it. We've done that. I then save it as a 97-2003 document, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. So now I'm ready to convert this to a PDF. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'll put it on the desktop. And I'm going to save this as a PDF. So we did 3 things so far. Yeah, 3 things. We created an accessible document. We made sure. We then saved it as a 97-2003 document. And now we're saving it as a PDF. And now our 4th part of this. Never skip this step ever, 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 ever. We're going to go here to Options. We're going to click on it. And we're going to make sure that Document Properties is checked. Document Structure Tags for Accessibility is checked. Bitmap text when fonts may not be embedded is checked. And Page Range is all. And Publish What? Document. Now, the reason I saved it as a 97-2003 document is these document structure tags for accessibility go over a lot better from Word 97-2003 than they do from Word 2013 or 2016. And that's just a quirk with the program. I have not looked at the code, and I probably never will. I just know it works better that way. So I make sure all of those are checked. I click OK. I save. I save that. And I know that this PDF is accessible because I went through those steps. So that's how you create an accessible PDF. You first have to have an accessible Word document. Got to save it as 97-2003. Save it as a PDF. Look at your options. Make sure document structure tags for accessibility is checked. Make sure Publish What is document. And you'll have an accessible PDF. It's that simple. So when I get PDFs in my office, first thing I do is I convert them to Word. It's usually the first thing I'll do, and I'll fix the Word file. When you have to do PDFs or you can't, that just takes time. A 2-page PDF can take you 5 hours because you have to do it line by line. And you have to set the reading order. I thought you'd appreciate the easy way, Leanne.
By the time they start trying to nail people.
Yeah.
So if you went the other way, then I'm only asking this because all my PDFs in my classes are this way. All the documents I've done file, print the PDF, and saved it out that way. Does that work the same as saving the PDF?
No. It's just.
So next edition of the textbook, I'll think about it.
Hey, one tree at a time, right?
Exactly.
One tree at a time.
Go the other way.
Any questions? Oh, yes, ma'am.
Are pictures the same when they're in PDF? Or are they also read?
Yes, I have to have alt text for pictures. Remember, alt text and headings apply to any document. Doesn't matter. Websites, Google Docs, Pages with the Mac, Word. So the accessibility features you've learned today apply to really everything. Remember, it's really just about structures. That's really all it's about. Structuring those documents in such a way that they make sense, they're more readable, they're more usable for everybody. That's really all it's about. If I essentially use, and the next thing, last thing I'll tell you here. So if I use these built-in features of Word, right, anything I do using that fonts, paragraphs, styles group, by default, is going to be accessible. It's just the way the program's designed. I just have to learn to use my screwdriver properly, right, and not hammer things in with it. But if I use these tools properly, it's going to end up becoming quicker and easier for me. I'm going to become more efficient at using Word, and I'm going to save time over the long run. If I do that, the accessibility is baked into the cake. It's just the way it is. Yes, sir. Steve.
One more, following up with all these questions about the file formats. I know some instructors, some folks use rich text format documents. Is that everything still true with those documents?
Yeah, same way. That screen reader is going to read anything pretty much. Okay, anything that's on the screen, it'll read as long as it's structured properly. Yes, ma'am.
So I know you said that we have to save it as a 97 to 2000 Word doc and then convert it to a PDF. Is there a way to check to make sure that your PDF is maintaining all that accessibility if you're using maybe an alternate program to create accessibility?
Yeah, unfortunately, I've got to have Acrobat Pro to do that, but I don't know if it's on.
I think actually newer versions of Reader have a checker.
Yeah, I was going to say depending on I don't know what version you have here, but if I go to Tools, maybe I got it here. I go to Accessibility. Oh yeah, I can run a full check here. I can start checking. You see what I just did? Let's do that again. I told you something, and we'll do it again. So I had an accessible document that we checked. We saved it as 97 2003, then we converted it to PDF. So I'm going to go here to the document that I created. I'm going to go to View and Tools, and then I'm going to go down here to Accessibility. I'm going to run a full check, and I'll start checking. And it says the checker found no problems in this document. That's an accessible document. It works 99.8% of the time if I've done everything right as far as in the Word file. So that document is clean and clear. I can send this to anybody who uses a screen reader, and that document will be read. That's the easy way to do it. Instead of, don't do it the hard way if you can help it. Any questions about that? All right, so let's review what we've talked about today. All we talked about, essentially, was using Word's built-in tools. We talked about font size and color contrast. We talked about adding alt text, hyperlinks, and we also talked about using that paragraphs group to create white space. But all we really did is use what's built into Word. I hope everybody learned at least one thing they didn't know. Maybe even Leanne learned one thing, but maybe not. All right, well, good. All right, then I feel better now. My feelings aren't hurt anymore. So I'm going to hand out this handout. It says Word 2013. Hey, 2016 works exactly the same, so don't fret, people. It's got everything that we've done with screenshots in color. And now the fact that you can use the accessibility checker means that you can solve any accessibility problem that you'll eventually run into. If you run into a problem that we did not address, email Judith. No, I'm just joking. I'll put my contact info up there. If you run into a problem, feel free to email me.